Hey guys, it's Spaces Sims, and we are back with more Virche Epic Lycoris. Still in Eve's side end encore thing. I think we feel like we're getting down to the end, but like, who knows? I now cannot remember what part we're on. I just did the other part yesterday, and yet I'm like, oh, I don't know. But, I think we're getting down to it. This could be the last part. We'll see. Um, anyway, the genius loved by God was demanding a sacrifice to save the people. All right, yeah, Cyan right before him was like, evil eyes. Once we get past the point in question of 2 months, I can certainly make it happen. And it appears the Watchman of Death has an idea of where we can find the antibodies we need. In order to make that happen, we use the genetics of someone who can live longer than 23 years to strengthen the bodies of others. Adolphe, I'm going to need you to sacrifice yourself so we can get. Oh, I don't like that either. I don't like any of this. Or we use the one with the telepathy, who can weaken the toxins, creating clones of her and burying them alive. I vote for that because they're just clones. They're not really me. You could just not put any, thoughts in them. Just create the bodies and bury them, and then they're not actually people. They're just, they look like fleshy dolls, you know? So, that sounds horrible still, but it's better than killing Eve. Those are our two options. In either case, the source being used will die. Oh. So if we create clones of me, I can't still live? Because how? The moment he quietly finished explaining, no, I'm not letting that happen. And don't think that everyone's ready to sacrifice themselves for your sake. If you want to perform experiments like that, do them on your own body. Stop involving my friends and family. And if you really need someone to be your sacrifice, then I'll... Hang on, just calm down, Adolphe. I hate to admit it, but I agree with the young one. If you're truly a god, as you say, why not save everyone without sacrificing anyone, Cyan Brophies? Even as Adolphe and Anko glared at him, Cyan refused to take back his suggestion, looking on with unfeeling eyes, and instead of backing down, don't be so arrogant. It's not up to either of you, but the two of them. You idiot! Their answer's the same as... Oh? Then why are the faces of the two in question looking the way they are now? What? At Cyan's question, Adolphe and Anko both turned back at the same time. They looked at the expressions of those who could give hope of this plan becoming a reality. I was sure that both Eve and I looked the exact same way, thinking the exact same thing. If they used this sinful life of mine, could they really save the country? It was strange. What Cyan proposed was certainly the beginning of the end for us. Is this going to be the ending where we end up dead in the flower, like we're just buried alive? Because, we did that end game. So how did it bring about so much hope? If that's the case, you should... This is our last save point. So I'm going to assume, because the answer is give me what I deserve. Use me is probably going to be we end up in the bad end where we're buried alive. Which, again, we've already technically done. So, how are they going to make it different enough that it's... not okay, we just went through all of this to get the same ending we already got once before. But, again, this just kind of extends on it and adds to it. But I still want you to do something a little bit different. Because Mathis is... Why don't I remember all of them? But you know what I mean? At least the end, stabbing ourselves together. It's a little bit different. We didn't do that technically. I don't remember doing that anyway. Maybe we did. I don't know. So... Again, on that hand of repeating everything we've done already with some changes and additions, I can't be mad about it because I don't remember all of it. But if they're going to give me an ending that I do remember, then I'm going to be mad about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not mad about like a half of it being stuff we already read because it's a refresher for me and I don't remember. I'm just like, oh, deja vu and I don't remember this. And like, okay, well, whatever. But an ending that I remember and then we redo it, that's not fun. Then I'm going to question it. But I don't know. Anyway, give me what I deserve. That didn't give me like love points. Anyway, side end encore, story of compassion. I'm assuming this is the end. Give me what I deserve. Continuing to live will just cause misfortune to more people again. I knew my dramatic excuse would have normally convinced anyone. Between death, whose mere presence killed others, and a kind young man who had only a slight resistance to the curse, I thought anyone would choose to remove the former and allow the latter to live. So long as that man didn't collapse after coughing up all the blood in his body. Everyone in the room froze silent. What the hell? Like, I was gonna say, did he just, like, cough up blood? Is that what was all the blood splatters? His body crumpled to the ground and began to tear apart just from the air brushing against it, revealing the flesh underneath. Because that was what was happening to him before. Okay. Huh? What just happened? Eve! I hurried toward him to pick him up. But the moment I touched his skin, a portion of it slipped right off his flesh. Your skin can't slip off your flesh. Your skin is your flesh. But, like, I know what they mean. Like, chunks of him's fallen. Oh, my God. Stop it! Why is... Yeah, this game is a really good way to diet because the thought of eating anything makes you want to hurl now. Like, I'm nauseous. What the... I guess I'm at my limit now. My body will get messier. I'm more disgusting. Yeah, I think so. So you probably shouldn't touch it much. Ew, and then they make the squelching noises. Stop with the sound effects. Oh, God, I can't... Erratic gasps were caught in his throat. In the next moment, I was pushed aside, and the scientist all examined his condition. This is... You must be joking, Eve. You pretended to be fine for several days in this condition? Da had gasped as he lifted the clothes that covered an abnormally large quantity of bandages wrapped tightly around Eve's body. Underneath them, I could see hints of necrosis and flesh beginning to fall off of him. And stop with the squelchy noises! I can hear them under my own speaking, and I'm like, I'm going to start reading this very loudly. I hope you can't hear them, guys. It's horrifying. I was at a loss for words at the state of his body, which was clearly rotting away. Oh, God, stop. What is happening to Eve's body? I asked my question in an unsteady voice. Why did we choose to play this game? Why? Why? Why does this game exist? I mean, don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, you're like, this game's so good, but then when you're in these moments with, like, the squelching noises and flesh falling off his body and all this, you're like, why? Why? Oh, God, why? He was able to withstand hundreds of years' worth of toxins released from the Lycoris because he has the blood of the drifter. Our simple calculations were completely off. What do you mean? You don't get it? Even at the moment he had set those explosives, his chromosomes were already at their limit. He simply went beyond that limit out of sheer willpower. His chromosomes aren't just tainted, they're almost completely destroyed. Right now he's practically a moving corpse. Somebody punch him. Can I punch him? I just want to punch him. You know, like, cute things give you cute aggression where you just want to squeeze them, or like tiny little muffins and little like fucking mini bagels are just so cute you want to chuck them at a wall. Like, Capucine is like such trash, but look at him, he's beautiful. But it's one of those like, God, I hate you, but you're so pretty, but I just want to punch him for being beautiful garbage. You know what I mean? Because he's just the worst. But why'd you have to make him so pretty? So it's a different kind of aggression, but you know what I mean? I think it's a new type. Because, like, sometimes you see something so beautiful. Every time science shows up, you're like, God damn it, I just want to ravage that. The aggression you get from a hot 2D man is, like, weird aggression. It's not like, like, I just want to shake it. Well, sometimes it's similar to cute aggression, but it gets a little more, inappropriate. If you're me, I guess. I don't know. Anybody else? But then you have Capucine as a different type, because look at him, he's so pretty. If you just saw him and you had no idea what kind of hot garbage he was, you'd be like, he's kind of pretty. And then you find out just how awful he is, and you're like, I want to light him on fire. I want to kiss him, and then I want to light him on fire. And but you're gonna enjoy lighting him on fire. Let's watch that beautiful bastard burn. And it's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I want to slap him so fucking hard just for having the audacity. Just having audacity to begin with. But the audacity to be beautiful and just so fucking, like, the literal worst. The literal worst. But I love it. Why? I know so many people hate him, but I love to hate him. I love that he exists because he is, God, you are awful. Like, I really, really, really want to torture him. Tie him up, stone him, like, literally torture him. And I would have fun doing it, and I think all of us can agree it'd be fun. It'd be so fun. You just want to take out every little frustration you have on someone this vile. But you're going to enjoy doing it, not just because he's vile, because, like, there's also that weird, fucked up part of you that's like, he's pretty and I want to make him cry. Just me? Listen, every time we play a game, I get more deranged. Okay? Like, how long did it take? I mean, it took a long time, but it hasn't been that long since we decided that if it's my brother, I want to fuck it. Like, disturbing as that technically is, and as much therapy as I probably should have for that. And then, like, Variable Barricade started a lot of weird kinks because it was also like, God, he's crying and that's so hot. Like, cry more. I want you to cry. You know what I mean? That game is like the root of all my problems. That game started a lot of weird kinks. Naruto wanting you to step on him and you're like, I'll step on you. Okay. Ichia wanting to cry all the time, and you're being like, God, it's hot when he cries. I just want to make him cry. And there's something like a weird kink in that, and we all know the rest. Yeah, I blame that game for a lot of weird kinks that have, like, slowly been piling up in here, and that's disturbing. But I want to make Capucine cry. I really do. Like, a lot. Because he deserves it, but also it'd just be fun to make him cry. I want to see the pretty man cry. I don't know what's wrong with me. Also, I think I've become a little unhinged because of all the squelching noises and the flesh peeling off, so, like, oh, there's no helping it. Oh, dear God. Anyway, summarizing what the other two had to say, whether he becomes a sacrifice or not, he's going to die very soon. Cyan gave his proclamation of despair to us. Why must he die? Eve just wanted to save everyone. He was working so hard. Don't give up, Spacey. If we just have him drink my blood like before, he can still make it. Uncle took out a knife from a pocket and was about to slash at his own arm. It's no use. I know that you possess the antibodies within you, but even if they could fight against the contamination, they cannot rebuild his destroyed chromosomes. Can you make him a reliver? Chuck him in the reliver machine. Is that not going to work because he's already, like, fallen apart? Because people are already partially, chromosomally defunct or decrepit or falling apart by the time they get a scan. Because, each year, so, like, when you're 20 and getting it, you barely got any chromosomes left. This game is weird. No. Uncle grunted and stopped himself, perhaps realizing it was true. Yeah, I mean, I think I liked it better when we burned to death in the flower field because, you know, Eve is literally falling apart. Not like we talk about it like, you know, we fall apart emotionally, mentally. No, but he is physically falling apart. And I don't mean like when you get old and you're like, man, I'm falling apart because my hip hurts, my knee hurts, my ankle hurts. Like I woke up and my back hurts. Like it's not that. It's not the way we say fall. I mean, literally, his flesh in bits and pieces of him is falling off. That's not normal. That's not normal. Not that's not no. Chunks of your skin and body parts should not just fall off. You shouldn't just wake up and be like, whoop, there goes my kneecap. Like, it shouldn't just fall off. You know what I mean? Like, gross. Ew. And the game shouldn't keep making the squelching noises because, holy shit. No, and it did it again. Why? I just said you shouldn't do that. I really hope the sounds down so low you can't hear them. And I just sound completely unhinged talking about squelching noises you can't hear. But also for your sake, I hope you cannot fucking hear them because it's disgusting. Oh, all that was happening, piece after piece of Eve's body continued to break down. Ugh. It was like a nightmare. Yeah, it's gonna give me nightmares. Can we really do nothing for him? I won't be able to face Hugo if he dies like this. For the first time ever, Adolphe looked at Cyan, whom he despised so much, with pleading eyes. Did no one tell Adolphe that Hugo is dead? Does he not know? He's like, I'm not going to be able to face Hugo. Pats him on the shoulder. Hugo's dead, so don't worry about it. Or do you mean Hugo in the afterlife? Okay, by the way, also, let's take it to what just happened a couple days ago. Or yesterday, or whatever, with half the country being dead now. You assuming Hugo lived through that is wishful thinking, but good for you. But also, so it's kind of like, Adolphe, you really think Hugo lived through that? And he's like, yeah, he definitely did. And you're like, okay, well, actually, he died even before that happened. So, like, don't worry about it. However, Cyan's response was a silent no. The gods seemed to admit that there was finally someone that not even he could save. No, no! I began to cry pathetically in response to the fresh blood dripping to the ground. Eve's body is falling apart! Please, no! Stop! No matter how much I tried desperately to scoop him back up and hold him together, there's something so disgusting about that, but also a little sad. It's like you're trying to like hold a snowman together that's melting in the sun, but then just picture its flesh and blood and bones and cartilage and shit, and then that's disgusting. That's how I just want to scream at this game. Please, God, stop! I'll do anything. Don't kill and let him live. Please don't take more of Eve's life. Kill me instead. There was a lot of shit going on in her brain. You're gonna have to rewind that if you weren't paying attention because it was just flashing on the screen and I couldn't read fast enough. So I didn't get to read all of it. But basically, like, begging God, you got the point. Please, please, someone, please save the person I love. I felt I was losing my mind as I cried out. Don't cry, Spacey. I came all this way knowing my fate. Eve's shaking finger wiped away the tears falling from my eyes, and then his finger fell off. Even though his flesh was so torn apart, stop bringing it up. Even when he was in so much pain, he probably wanted to scream. I want to scream. Why? Why aren't you crying? I'm just happy. I'm happy that you shouted how you love me, Spacey. I feel we were really able to be lovers. I couldn't hold myself back any longer and held Eve with all my strength. You're gonna literally squish him. Oh, I'm so unclean right now. No, you aren't. No matter how you look, you'll always be the person I love. You're the precious guardian who came to me. Oh, look at his little sad eyes. A tear slid from the corner of Eve's eye. Cyan. What? His faltering voice addressed Cyan. My chromosomes. It's not like they're completely destroyed. right? If they were, you wouldn't even be able to talk right now. Good. Then you can use them on your experiments to save the country. He was a fool. Yeah, but he's a labradoodle. That's kind of par for the course. This man, he was such a fool. Oh, I see. I was wondering how it was that I could still possibly be alive. But I think it was for this moment. If you need a sacrifice, you should choose the one who's certainly gonna die. Please, stop. Please stop reminding me of your death. For my sake. I'm gonna die anyways. I want to die protecting you and everything you love. You think that's selfish of me? Having reached the ultimate level of kindness, he smiled like the happiest person in the world. I couldn't even tell him he was wrong. I bawled like a child, clinging onto Eve's body. I did that earlier. Well, not clinging onto Eve, but, I had a good cry. Listen, the world we're moving into is not a very pleasant one, so, sometimes you just need to cry in the shower, okay? I wouldn't hand him over. I wouldn't let him be used. I wouldn't let him be a sacrifice. Eve was going to be with me forever. I screamed those words out loud to try and protect him from everything around us. Oh! But perhaps because I grabbed onto him so tightly, Eve's body broke apart even faster. Spacey, let him go. Adolphe held my shoulder, his voice wavering. No. I'm the one who was supposed to die. I won't let Eve meet his end like this. Spacey! My body shook, startled, and I relaxed my hold on Eve's arm just a bit. Suddenly, Eve, who was hardly even able to breathe, stood up on his own strength, continuing to break his body. Eve. That's okay. Adolphe moved to support him, but he gently declined. Oh, God, I'm really glad you can't hear that. I looked over and I'm like, no, you can't hear it. It's so quiet. Oh, thank God. After spilling out more of what might be blood, flesh, or organs, he made it to the capsule that was prepared for the experiments. Wait! I haven't checked, obviously, because I know the music has to be, extremely fucking low or whatever, but apparently because sound effects are usually really fucking loud, but they must have actually turned down relatively low so that, and there's times like right now where there's no background music. But now I'm like, well, maybe I can turn the sound effects up a little bit louder so you can hear them better. Because you should be tortured like me. I know we're halfway through. We're basically halfway through Eve's route. We already did all of Mathis, but I have not checked the sound. I know roughly okay, where we have to be for the set, for not to be too loud background music, because the background music is what gets you, because that's usually, even that's copyrighted and stuff like that, and I don't want to fuck with that. We're already towing the line by recording these, you know what I'm saying? So let's not make it worse. But apparently I turn the sound effects down really low, because usually if I look over and I see it, the sound effects look really motherfucking loud compared to background music, but I can turn them up so you can hear the squelching. Ugh. Trust me, you're so lucky you can't hear it. And I'm surprised because I don't have my sound up very loud, but I think I can hear it through my TV. Ugh. Anyway, he addressed me as I chased after him. Oh. Oh, look at this sad CG. This is not a good one, game. It's beautiful in its tragicness, but how dare you? Sorry, Spacey. I'm gonna be putting a curse on you now. Eve gently put something in my hand. It was the mask Eve used to hide his burns. He spoke with nostalgia as he told me that he received it from a certain merchant. I took it and held it in my own shaking hands. Olive, And with this mask, please remember the man Yves Noirs, who loved the gentle death from the bottom of his heart. You're the only one who shares those memories. This is so sad. I burst into tears again. I might too. I wanted to send him off, telling him something to make him feel better. Cyan, who understood that Eve accepted his fate, started up the machine through some controls. Yeah, that wouldn't be plural. You wouldn't pluralize. You wouldn't put the parent. It's not possessing his accepted fate. Anyway, if you have to die, please take me with you. If I'm with you, I'm not afraid to die. Sorry, all I can't do. My memories of loving you and being loved by you. The reality of that. To have that disappear from the world's far more terrifying to me. After explaining himself, Eve mustered the last of his strength and pushed me outside the capsule. I desperately reached back out to him, but failed. At almost the same time I fell to the ground. You're a normal person now. I can't wait for the future where you talk about our love. I love you, Spacey. I choose to save everyone. But the one I love is you alone. Those were the last words he could muster. And after the capsule sealed closed, his body no longer moved. And that's one of those moments where you're like, that is like a perfect fucking end, but you knew it was going to continue because they got to do an after kind of thing or whatever. So, like, okay. I knew they weren't going to end it there, but they have to do like a little after he died kind of thing. But it's kind of, they should have done like a credits and then done that after the credits kind of scene, you know? The small country of Arpachel was surrounded by the sea and fields of black Lycoris. Those born here were said to live under the dreaded curse of death, who had ruled over the land since ancient times. The longest that one could live was 23 years. This was the tale of the past. 50 years later, thanks to the efforts of two heroes, it became a beautiful land of flowers where red Lycoris noirs bloomed proudly. So, how did they manage to get all the toxins out so the flowers are red now? Today, the beautiful flower petals continue to blow out toward the sea. I mean, that's amazing and wonderful, but it's sad. I don't know who's saying. And so, alongside Cyan Brophis, the genius scientist who developed the special antidote, the guardian Yves Noirs, who sacrificed his own life and saved the country from destruction, were given the title of Virche by the mysterious Watchmen of Death and came to be known as heroes. After that, the citizens, who were given normal lives like anyone else from outside the island, were all re-educated through sound ethics and virtues by the newly appointed queen and her son, and all gained kind and gentle hearts. This is the tale of what happened 50 years ago. The tale of the young, compassionate man who loved the Lycoris and saved the land for the sake of the woman known as Death. The end. Sister, thanks for telling us another great story today. Is it me? I'm now 70 years old. Hearing about the tale of the Virche never gets old. I want to be like them someday too. I'll work hard at both sword fighting and studying. I'm glad you're all so happy. Thank you today, as always, for listening to this old woman's tales. Yeah, okay, it's awesome. We're like fucking 70. If you so wish, the compassionate guardian who once lived in this land. I can't do an old lady voice. My normal voice is an old lady voice. Good enough. I hope you'll all remember him too. I'm assuming it's us as an old lady, but they didn't want to tell you that. They wanted you to assume. I saw the children off as they went to play outside for the day. Absolutely was us. Okay. Children really did grow up so fast. Just the other day, they were all so shy. So we basically took over, raising the kids in the orphanage. Aww. And I was mostly just reading picture books to them. I suppose that just means I've gotten that much older. I brushed against the wrinkles that had appeared over the past 50 years as I spoke to myself. And there's Akko just being his never aging. Hello there, my princess. I see the children are full of energy today, too. Far away, I saw the Watchman of Death, whom I had known for so long, gracefully approaching this way. Oh, Unco, are you finished with work today? Yes, I thought it had been a while since we had tea and chatted. I'm honored to receive such an offer from the famous storyteller, although... Well, Unco, perhaps you should stop calling me princess soon. I'm an old woman now, already 68. Well, that's true, we were only 18, so whatever. Well, to an immortal like me, you are still the same princess that I remember. But I can change my ways if you wish it. Still, it has been 50 years since then, has it? I've not known time to pass so quickly. You've become a splendid sister here, Spacey. I'm sure it goes without saying, but you haven't changed at all, Onko. Both his gaze and the nickname he called me felt nostalgic. I invited him into the orphanage, which was our usual venue for tea. Like, this really should have been like an after-credits scene. You know what I mean? Because, like, did they do that in the Encore one where did they have an after-credits scene? Because that's what they should have done this as. It had been 50 years since Mother left the orphanage to me. I was so surprised when I found out she was Christine Revepoix, the queen who had once ruled over the country. What? We remembered that. To keep the country from falling to chaos, she decided to rule in place of the royal family that Cyan had punished. Good for... You know, I mean, this is a tragic ending because Eve's dead, but actually for the sake of the country, it's kind of the best ending because everyone gets to live long lives. You know, the queen's back being the queen instead of hiding, and Dahat probably now got his mommy back, so that's kind of awesome. And, like, everyone but me and Eve are happy. So, you know, sucks for us. And, you know, that's why it should feel worse. But, like, you know. Though the children cried for her not to go, she had to leave them in order to return to the castle. I was so busy as head of the orphanage after that. After parting with Eve, I hardly had time to process my grief. And with the help of Unco and Adolphe, who came back to the surface, I was able to raise many children at the orphanage and send them off. There was so much to do that time passed by in a flash. Also, now people don't have to be relivers. So, what the fuck is Cyan doing with his time? And people can now fall in love and, like, you know? I'd suddenly realized that 50 years had passed since that incident. Time flies when you get old. 1 minute you're like, man, you remember last year when it was the year two? Remember last year when, man, everyone was worried about Y2K? And you're like, that was almost 25 fucking years ago. And you're like, wait, what? Huh? What do you mean 25 fucking years? What the fuck? Or when people are like, so people from the late 1900s, and you're like, 1999 was the late 1900s, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? What the hell? It just, I'm serious. All of a sudden, you're 22 years old, and the next thing you know, you're 80, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? So don't blink, kids. Okay, I'm not 22 and I'm not 80 yet, but, like, I'm just saying, it goes fast in the middle. All right, it gets scary. And the next thing you know, seriously, this is why you don't need to have a crisis when you're 25. Have we had this conversation before? You do not have to have a crisis at 20. Oh my God, I'm 25. I'm going to be 26. I'm so old. Oh, sweetie, no, you're not. Hold that until you get to 30. Just hold on to it. Back in my day, we didn't have a crisis until we turned 30. Goddamn whippersnappers having a crisis at 25. Don't rush your existential aging crisis. That's all I'm saying, because you're going to need it later. Because it's not going to change. It's not like when you go 25 and you have your existential crisis because you feel like you're old and then you hit 30 and you're cool. You're going to have it at 30. And then you're going to have it at 40. And then you're probably going to have it at 50. And then it's just never going to stop. So I wouldn't have one at 25 is all I'm saying. Just save it for later because you're going to need it. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. I've been having an existential crisis for the last 5 years. And it's one of those like, I'm going to get over it and I'm going to accept my age. And then it's like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean 5 years has gone by? I'm still not accepting 5 years ago. And you mean I got to, no, I hate this. And next thing I know, it's going to be 20 years from now. And I'm going to be like, what the shit balls? But that's what happens when you get old. Everything hurts and time goes really motherfucking fast. And I'm not having fun. I don't understand. Time is only supposed to fly when you're having fun, not when you're getting old. It flies when you're having fun and when you're old. And I'm going to be honest with you. The older you get, the less it's fun it is. Because everything hurts. Mentally, emotionally, physically, it all fucking hurts. Grandma needs to go lie down, guys. I don't think I'm technically old enough to be anyone's grandma. I mean, if I had kids really young and my kids had kids really young, maybe, sure, actually, technically, but that's horrifying. Wait a minute. Was my mother a grandma when she was my age? I don't even want to think. Okay, no, hold on. I'm gonna cry. I gotta lie down and process how old I am. Like, mentally, I'm an 80-year-old woman, so, you know. I'm saying, I'm old enough to Golden Girls it up, but the Golden Girls weren't really that old, to be fair. Like, when they were playing the Golden Girls, like the actual actresses, and then also they were not that old, so we're all a lot closer to actually being Golden Girls than we really want to admit, so that's horrifying. Anyway, Adolphe and Anko occasionally came to check up on me through the years. Do you think Adolphe is not aging either? With Anko in particular, because his memories of the past were so clear. He would also recall stories of back then and often came by for tea. I want to see Adolphe, looking like he's 60. Actually, because Adolphe was, actually 25, and everyone's like, oh, you're getting up there in age? He's like, yep. Even though he was actually 25. So he'd be 75 years old. I want to see little old Adolphe with a cane and everything, kind of hunched over and but to be fair, since Adolphe and Anko were the same person, I don't think Adolphe was ever going to age. How are you these days? Is your hip feeling better from when we last spoke the other day? No, seriously? God. It's all right now, thanks to you. I suppose it's a natural part of growing older. It feels as though I've been falling ill more often recently. Have you gone to see a doctor? Yes, of course, but they say it's merely old age and there's nothing to worry about. Although, I put my cup down as I muttered, what the fuck would anyone in this country know about what's normal for old age? No one's done it before! On the surface of the liquid, I could see myself, the one people now call sister. As I get older, the most painful thing is how my memories of Eve and his voice keep fading away. Oh, yeah. Spacey. I couldn't even remember when it was that I began to forget what his voice sounded like. How he would say Spacey. When I realized I couldn't remember the tone of his voice when he spoke to me so lovingly, I shouted and cried and just wanted to die. If I didn't have to care for the children, I was sure I would have taken my own life. Those memories with him, those were the only things I hoped never to forget, no matter what. That's what I promised him, and yet, well, that's what nobody knew what was going to happen when you get to old age. Nobody's had Alzheimer's before. I hated how fragile the human mind was, yeah. As tears spilled from my eyes, Uncle leaned in and brushed my cheeks dry with his long sleeve. Worry not, even if a human like you might forget him. I alone will not. I will keep his memory alive through the tales I share. That was why I became a storyteller, after all. Thank you. I can't tell you how many times your words have helped me. The longer I lived, the more easily I felt moved to tears. Yeah, that happens too. Achoo! Sorry, Bird. I had to sneeze for the sake of voice acting. He was like, the fuck was that? Feeling better, a small sneeze escaped me. Oh, and do you have a cold? It has been more chilly recently. Really has. It went from October being hot as fuck, and the beginning of November was hot as fuck, to 2 weeks later it was 46 degrees this morning, and I was like, the hell just happened? I mean, it's fall. It should be cold, but it went from like hot as hell, like, why is summer still here in November? And then to like, fuck you, it's winter. What the hell? Somebody's getting old and having mood swings up there, Mother Nature. Jesus Christ. I'm sitting up here with a blanket on, okay? That's probably why the bird is like jammed in my throat, like, it's cold. Lady, turn the heat on. No. We can't do it. No. For God's sakes, the other day the air conditioning was running up here. Literally like 3 days ago, the air conditioning was on, and now it's like motherfucking freezing. That's not normal. I know, it's not normal. You okay? You're fine. Anyway, I will take my leave now for your sake. Make sure to stay warm and rest up. You won't have any time to do so once the children all return home. Yes, you're right. Uncle's voice as he worried over me was always so kind. The woman formerly known as Death was happy, surrounded by such wonderful companions. Okay, again, I don't necessarily mind this, but it's like it should have ended with Eve's death. And then this little kind of like what happened afterwards should have been an after scene, not 3 hours of his route. He's dead now? We didn't need this much into it. You know what I mean? Like, you can kind of tie up and the little loose ends and kind of tell us what happened and the country went on for 50 years. We don't need to spend an hour with her feelings. You know what I mean? Unless this is going to be like, and then I died. Okay, fine. But like, I'm just concerned that they keep going with this and it's like, too much. Too much. You had a good place to end. This is what they did, though, in Mathis's, where it's like, oh, it's a beautiful place to end. And then you kept going, kept going, kept going. And then his end was good, don't get me wrong. But no, actually, that was the salvation end. That was the salvation end. But it's like, but this is what happened in that. Like, you had the perfect place to end, do credits, and then do this little bit as an after credit scene. But like, tighten it the fuck up. We don't need this much time of, like, we already hurt. You don't need to make it worse. And then you don't need to bore us with it. Like, I like the follow up of like, okay, this is what happened. It's been 50 years remembering him. Okay. Okay, but tighten it up. We don't need 20 minutes of this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm questioning now, what's the point here? After Uncle left the orphanage, I sat there alone, swaying in a rocking chair as I bathed in the afternoon light. It felt so nice and warm. If I wasn't careful, I could easily fall asleep right here. Well, that's what happens when you get old. It's easy to fall asleep. Aw, his mask. After the conversation with Uncle, I went into my room and came out with the memento that was left to me, Eve's mask. It was kept just to be looked at and was never used, so it looked no different from 50 years ago. At least that's what I could only assume. I can't believe something this important is so difficult to recall. Someday, I was sure I wouldn't even be able to remember what Eve told me if I didn't ask Uncle. I wondered if I wouldn't even be able to feel sad anymore. Okay, I don't think your memory should be this bad at 62. Well, 68. She's 68. Your memory shouldn't be that bad yet. You know what I mean? You're going to forget certain things. Like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But you're like, this mask, I kind of vaguely... No. Your memory wouldn't be that bad yet. Jesus. I'd say you should get that checked. She's really going through Alzheimer's right now, I think. I'm scared. My fingers, now covered in wrinkles, were trembling with fear. Please, God, don't take that away from me, of all things. I prayed desperately as the rocking blurred my thoughts. I felt so tired, as though even the beating of my heart was fainter than normal. Are we dying? I felt as if I'd be able to fall into a long, comfortable sleep. No, not yet. At the very least, Eve's face, his voice. I want to sleep while remembering him. Despite my desire to stay awake, my vision began growing darker and darker, and my consciousness began to fade. However, as I was now, I couldn't even dream of the person I loved. It was so sad. Spicy. His voice. It was so clear and bright, like the light of dawn that broke across the darkest skies. Is he here to take us to the afterlife? Did we die? I've heard this voice somewhere before. That was what I felt I fought against the desire to sleep and forced my eyes open. Okay, if this little scene is to be because we died in our sleep or something, because we're all, although 68, that's pretty young to die, but still, whatevs. Hey, I mean, we're lucky that we live past 23, okay? So, fine. We're still working up to, like, aging normally and living normal, okay? Cool. Then I'm okay with it. But if they do this and then they keep going, it's like, Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? So, like, and there stood the owner of the voice, but look at his little hand reaching out for you. Are we going to get a full CG of this? The young man's eyes narrowed lovingly as he looked my way. Thanks for living my share, too. Sorry for not being able to come see you, even after you wished it so many times. But I've also been waiting for you here all this time. The moment I heard those words, uh, emotions I couldn't describe filled me. You're finally here! I remembered who this man was. As I burst into tears, I threw up both my arms and shouted for him with all my heart. Come here, Spacey. Eve. Forgetting my aged body, I ran up to him as he called me, but we don't have an aged body anymore because our soul is young. I embraced him, letting the emotions of love I suddenly remembered take over my body. Life seemed to last for an eternity, and at its end was the greatest happiness I could ever experience. Okay, so it was tragic, but then they gave us, like, we got to grow old sadly without him, but when we died, we got to be back with him. So it's really not that bad. It's still a little bittersweet, but it's kind of pretty. I was watching you all this time. You worked so hard, surrounded by so many people. You were so wonderful, growing as an adult and living through to the end of your life. I was so worried you'd be taken by someone else. My heart would never be taken by anyone but you, Eve. I see. Thank you. Give us a fucking CG. How dare you? I reluctantly let go of him, and as if to compensate, Eve held onto my hands. Oh, there he is. Aww. Not a CG, but, you know. All right, let's get going then. There are so many beautiful Lycorises blooming here. Eve guided me along with a smile blossoming proudly across his face. I love you, Spacey. I hope you'll be my wife in the world that awaits us. Yes. My long story as death ended here. Watching over the red Lycorises, the guardian and the incarnation of the Lycoris would never be separated again. They made their new vows to each other and began their journey together across the world. You didn't give us a fucking... Really? 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 The CG that we got was... The CG we got was like the sad, depressing one. You didn't even get a pretty little end one. I call shenanigans, and I'm disappointed about that. But I will give it to them. Okay, so they don't do after credit scenes for these. Okay. So then that makes more sense. So that little whole thing was like an after credit scene. And okay. So I know I jumped the gun and I was like, well, okay, wrap it up. But I'm like, but like I said, if we're gonna die here, cool, which we did, so perfectly fine. But it's one of those like when it first comes and it's like, oh hey, you know, here's what happened 50 years later, and you're like, okay. Technically it would be an after credit scene, they just didn't have credits for that. Fine. Well, they did. But they did the after credit scene before the credits. So whatever. That's how you do it. Okay? You know? That one's pretty. You know, this is how you do the endings. Where you have that little ending with Eve and you're like, no! And then you should have the credits there. And then you have this little bit as an after ending, like, credit scene. But the way they did, like, Mathis's Salvation, where they give you the end and then you keep going, and they, like, still a little, like, what the fuck about that? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, the CGs are pretty, but tragic. Because this is, like, it's not even like, okay, you see his scar or whatever, and he's crying, and be beautiful, with the blood pouring out of his mouth and everything. You're like, that's a little much. But it's, like, the lighting and everything is so fucking pretty. And, like, just the little tear, you're like, it's so pretty, but sad, and I hate you for it. You know what I mean? But, like, I want to say I hate the ending, but I also don't. You know what I mean? I hate it on the fact that, like, you killed Eve and I had to live 50 fucking years without him, and that's sad. But how pretty it is when you, like, finally are ready to just kind of fall asleep. You die slowly. Like, you just like, I'm just going to fall asleep. And it's not tragic or painful. You had the perfect, peaceful slip into death. Like, beautiful. That's what we all fucking want. I just want to go to sleep and just not wake up one day. Okay, I don't want to be in the hospital. I want to be suffering. I don't want to go to sleep and never wake up again. Okay, that's all we can ever wish for, right? Just, painless like that. Well, I mean, it's probably going to be painful because you're like, oh my God, my body hurts when you fall asleep. And you get in bed and you're like, I'm so fucking uncomfortable. But once you fall asleep and then you never wake up again, it's like, that's the painless way to go. You know what I mean? That's what you want. And then you just like, and then there's that person you've been waiting for, and there they are, and then you're off in the afterlife together forever, and that's beautiful. Like, I can't begrudge that. I can't begrudge the ending. This will be our NCG because even though it's slightly tragic because we're in flames, it's still kind of adorable, and it's the least tragic out of the three that we have. You know what I mean? But that was love and death. That was the thing. So the next part, we will do the other endings. Right, because there is another bad ending. Right, because we load that happened in Mathis's too, I think. When you load one of our save files, you create a third save file. Did he have 4 though? I think Mathis had more. I feel like he did. Yeah, Mathis had more because we had to save 5 and 6 in our create a common save file. Oh, that's for a side story. Okay, that's for a side story. We're not doing that yet. We'll have to, when we're doing side stories for each character, go in and see. But he only has one bad ending for his salvation end. I'm not really trying to look at the answers, but like, not like it matters. He's got 2. So he's got less endings than Mathis does, which is interesting. So Mathis's like bad endings didn't take those. So we might not have. That might be a really fucking short part. It'll be like 2 minutes. So we might have to just do that at the end, which is kind of tragic for Eve because then, Mathis gets this ending where you get to see a CG, and then you get the bad endings where you see a CG, and then you do the salvation and despair stuff where you see, and then you do the bad. So you get like 4 little CG moments where we end, and Eve will get like 3 because Mathis for the like salvation one had like 2 save files and we only have 1. So I have a feeling that's going to go really fucking fast. And Mathis's bad endings only took like 20 minutes and this one will probably take like 2. So yeah, we're probably just going to have to wrap that up in with the salvation end kind of stuff. So yeah, that'll be a weird time, but anyway, I mean, it is what it is. I just like it to be even across our boyfriends, but it's going to be what it's going to be. And I don't want to do a whole part that's going to be like 5 minutes. Would buy me some time, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, here's a part. Hey, guys, we're back. Here's the ending. We did this. Oh my God, we died. Okay, bye. Like, really? Like 5 minutes? What the fuck? It would take me longer to record and edit than it would be worth to watch. So I'm just saying. I mean, if that end takes like 15 minutes to do, I guess. My postulating and my thoughts takes like 3 hours to do. But anyway, I didn't think this one was that bad. And I definitely feel a little more connected with it. And I think I was a little more invested in having a little bit more fun with it than I did during Mathis's Encore. Mathis's Encore, I think there were points where I was like, what are we doing here? Why are we here? And I very much felt Atome Kitten's synopsis of what is the point of these? I was like, yeah, I kind of felt that at some points during Mathis's. Like, I wasn't mad about it in the beginning, like I said, because like rehashing stuff I've already read is fine with me in this case because I don't remember it. I'm like, I know we did this before. This seems familiar. But there's a lot of stuff that I know was new and I can't just, you know what I mean? And some of it you're like, I know we know this, but I don't remember if it came from different like routes in different parts of the game. Like, I don't think, We didn't learn that Sister Salome was fucking Christine Revopois until the fucking end of the game. So we never learned that in Eve's route. I'm pretty sure we didn't know Dahut was doing all this nefarious shit. You know what I mean? Although they never really addressed that in this. Although, I mean, I guess Sion was like, I know what you did. And then that was all the talk of it because it wasn't really important. But you know what I mean? It's like they give you stuff that you already know from the first game. So I'm not really sure, like, what route or where do we learn it? I don't think we learned it here. So whatever. I don't mind those kind of things. Again, because, you know, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. This one was just better to me. And again, I think it was just Mathis not being original Mathis and Eve just being himself. That, like, if we had done Eve first, okay, we would have been in the swing. And then I still think I would have been disconnected with Mathis's. You know, the encore one, I would have been like, well, it's not really him and like, whatever. So maybe that scenario just wasn't my favorite. I just really think it was a bad place to start. Because I do think it tainted as we were going through Mathis's salvation stuff to be a little more frustrating and be like, what's the point of this? What are we doing? Because, like, you know, you don't have the momentum as much, you know? So it's like when you get off to a bad start, it's really hard, even when you're like, okay, we're having fun, and now you just ended, but you didn't end, and then 2 hours later, we're still going. That, I think, was also a fail. Like, I definitely think they could have rearranged that better, but I think part of it was I don't like the way you arranged the scenes. I think it could have been handled better and done differently so it didn't feel like, we're ending! 2 hours later, we're still here, what the fuck? Where that kind of fucks you up. You know what I mean? Maybe nobody else, but fucks me up anyway. And makes me disappointed and makes me frustrated and kind of just throws me out of my enjoyment, you know? And then just having a bad start to the game, I think. So poor Mathis got the short end of the stick. Not in his endings. I think the endings were really good. I just think my judgment and my wanting to play the game and my enjoyment of the game was just not there in the very beginning. And I don't think that was Mathis's fault. I think it's just the fault of, you know, his encore route was not the best place to start the game. But that could be different if Mathis is your favorite character. Maybe that was absolutely great for you. But him not being my favorite character, you know, even though I do like him, and I do remember in the beginning, in the first game, like, no, he was fine. Like, I like him as a character, but I guess, I don't know, it was just disjointed. So anyway, we've talked about that enough. I'm going to keep talking about it, though, for the rest of the damn game. I think we're in a much better place now, and this is what I'm hoping, that even though there's going to be moments where we're like, what's the point of this? I'm bored! For the most part, we're in an upswing where things are getting better, and it's like, okay, we just had a rocky start. Now we're kind of at a plateau where, like, things are going okay, and it should be fun to do this now, you know? Minus the squelching, disgusting noises, but maybe I'll adjust the volume so you can hear all those and be tortured with me, because Jesus, why should I have to suffer alone? Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.